Welcome, everyone. This is Liz Christofferson. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I am grateful for your patience. I just needed to make sure that we had our entire team of speakers here and ready to go. So thank you so much to all of them for being here. So as I said, I'm Liz Christofferson. I'm the owner of Empower Consulting Group. And as part of my commitment to give back to the community, I teach the Explore Design launch for Mission Community Services Corporation, and I'm the sponsor, host, and moderator for today's session. So I want to just go over a few quick items so you know how to participate today. We do have a rather large audience, and out of respect for time for each other, please limit your distractions and mute your phone or your mic. The session is being recorded, so if you miss a portion or you need to leave early, just know that access to the recording will be provided by Mission Community Services or via an email. We're going to be taking questions for our panelists when the time comes. So if you have a question, please type your question into the question section of your control panel, and we'll do our best to get to as many of them as we can during this time frame. So this morning, I received a message from the National Women's Business Council based in Washington, D.C., and they sent out to their members sort of a recap of what's happening with the stimulus funds, and this is specific to loans. So this morning, what I heard was, or what I learned was that in California, there are 54,922 loans in process now, and that represents about $20.9 billion. So I'm excited to hear what our guests have to say today, and we're going to start with Chuck. So Chuck's going to lead us off. I'm going to ask each of them to share a little bit about their name, their organization, and then take us into our guest speakers. So Chuck, why don't you go ahead?
All right, thanks, Liz. Appreciate you facilitating this for us. And, I'm the director for Mission Community Services, which is a nonprofit, and we're the host for the Women's Business Center. And we're here in San Luis Obispo, and more recently in Kern County, opened an office there. And I wanted to talk about the group of us here. We are all SBA resource partners. And what does that mean? That means Congress funds Small Business Administration, and then they fund each of us to some extent. They don't give us all the money. We have to, go to banks and counties and cities and get other money too to run our centers. But why do we do that? It's because the SBA believes, the Congress believes, small business is the lifeblood of the community. So they're aware that a big business comes from a small business. So we're here to help. This is my 6th year here, and I want to say from day one when I took this position, I reached out to Judy and she said, yes, let's get a group together. And she organized something. Lorna was there, I was there, and a group of other people. And we've really got a good group of resource partners here in town. So everyone here can help. And, we've heard from people that say, I've been trying to get a hold of someone and we're so glad to pick up the phone. So, don't feel left out, don't feel lost. We're all here to help. And we have different expertises, and we want you to take advantage of them. So that's my introduction. I'll turn it back over to Liz. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks so much. So if we can start with Judy. And Judy, I know you want to do a screen share, so let me just set you up to do that, and we'll get that going. And in the meantime, maybe you can tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I am the Cal Poly CIE Director of Economic Development. I oversee the Small Business Development Center for San Luis Obispo County, as well as the incubator program at the Hot House in downtown San Luis Obispo. So as Chuck mentioned, we are all funded by the SBA, so we have somewhat of a direct line of communication with the SBA, and we're here to help make sure that our local small businesses can get access to SBA resources. And specifically right now, access to the EIDL loan program and the Paycheck Protection Program loan, the PPP loan. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to pull up my first slide deck. Here. So Liz, are you able to put up my screen? The slide deck is the COVID-19 responses for small businesses.
It's not showing your screen, so give me just one more minute. Oh, wait a minute. I see why. Hold on one second. I apologize, guys.
Judy, while we're waiting, do you want to share with us how many of these presentations you're giving a week?
I think it's hitting about, probably at least one a day. It's not more, it's not 2 a day. But this is great. And thank you for providing the platform, Liz, to help us share the information, because truly the goal is to share this information with as many people as possible. So I'm
Can you check now, please?
Yes.
Sorry.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, so now I got ejected from my screen, so I no longer have access to my screen.
Your mouse is moving.
I'm trying to find my presentation. There it is.
There you go. There you go. It's all good.
Okay. So, as mentioned, I'm here as the director of the SBDC. There are about 1,000 SBDCs nationally. We have offices throughout the U.S., and we're here to support local businesses, and in this particular situation, to help them access resources that are available to handle the COVID situation. So there are two main loans that are available right now. So yes, they have been put on pause as of yesterday morning. Under the CARES Act, there was $349 billion in funding that was made available nationally for small businesses through the PPP program. That dollar amount, $310 billion, was expended as of Tuesday night of this week. So on Wednesday, the Treasury decided to put a pause on the program. So there was $40 billion still in the pipeline. The thought was anyone who is in the queue to apply, let's make sure we have enough left to handle what's been submitted to date. We do not know what are going to be the next steps in connection with these two programs. But what we would like to encourage everyone to get behind is that we do believe they've been paused. We do believe that eventually there will be more funding. When this started 4 weeks ago, the EIDL program, emergency disaster loans, already existed. So SBA was able to make that available on a portal, online, and accessible immediately. Then within 10 days, the CARES Act was passed and the $349 billion was made available. So it took 10 days. Now that the processes are in place, we've adopted the program already, the thought is it shouldn't take as long to get more funding in place and relaunched and rebooted. So we're hopeful, we're waiting, we're in waiting mode. I will go over what those two programs involve. And then the message I want to leave all the business owners with is do get ready, do prepare. When these portals come back live, you want to make sure you've got all your documentation, that you have a strategy in place for how you want to approach this. So don't lose hope, and let's keep preparing for the reopening of the portals, and we'll see what happens. So the EIDL loan, that was the first one that came available back in mid-March. Companies can apply directly with the SBA. It is capped at $2 million per business for this loan. The interest rate is 3.75%, and it's a 30-year term. There is a loan advance available for this loan. The loan advance is up to $10,000 per business. And the way the SBA is calculating how much of that advance a business is entitled to is based on the number of employees. If you are a self-employed sole proprietor business, you're limited to $1,000 if you don't have any other employees. If you have other employees, you can expect to receive approximately $1,000 per employee. Once you've submitted on the portal and checked the box to obtain the loan advance, and the loan advance is actually, the reason it's carved out and it's been named loan advance, this up to $10,000 amount, this amount will be immediately forgiven. You will not need to pay that amount back. But then for the remainder portion of the loan, you will have to submit documentation, backup documentation, and to see if you can qualify for an actual loan, the one that is based on the 2.75% interest rate on a 30-year term. What we recommend you prepare is under the what you'll need column. So you want to make sure you have a credit score of more than 660. So that's just an FYI. You do want to be able to respond to how you will use these funds. Most likely, revise your financials, prepare your projection. They will want to look at your 2019 profit and loss statement to see how much, how the business was run in 19. And they'll want to see two years of tax returns, 2017, 2018. You could just 2018 if you did not file in 17 if you're a newer business. You do not need to have 2019 tax returns available. The amount of the loan, so it's capped at $2 million, but the actual amount is they're going to use the average monthly expenses of 2019, and that's why they'll be looking at your P&L statement, your profit and loss statement. And that amount multiplied by 6 will be approximately what you can expect to receive under EIDL. Who can apply? Any corporation, LLC, C Corp, S Corp, B Corp, all can apply. Sole proprietors can apply. Independent contractors can apply. Nonprofits can apply, including chambers of commerce. Those are the 501c6 entities. And what we recommended is for business owners who have no history of payroll, this is an occurrence that we've had a few times, actually more than a few times. That's why I'm highlighting it here. If you were about to launch a new business, we have a couple of people who had bought a new coffee shop or a new restaurant, were new investors. They were new to the business, they have no history of payroll whatsoever, they will not qualify for the PPP program, so we recommend they apply under EIDL. So let's move on to PPP. That is a different program that was made available under the CARES Act. It came into effect 10 days after EIDL was made available. There's a higher cap per business on the amount of the loan you can obtain. It is up to $10 million per business. There's a 1% interest, and it's only a 2-year term. So the intention behind PPP is we wanted to make federal funds available to support business owners in maintaining their employee force, their workforce in place. So it is, the purpose of the loan is for you to access funding to be able to pay, make payroll, to pay your employees. It is a loan that will be forgiven, and I'll go to my next slide. The amount that will be forgiven, and actually, sorry, it's the one after, is the amount used to cover payroll over an 8-week period, as long as you're using at least, let's say you receive $1 million for the loan. As long as you're using at least 75% of the $1 million, $250,000 on payroll, the entire $1 million will be forgiven. You can spend the remaining 25%, the remaining $250,000 on rent, utilities, and interest payments on commercial mortgages. So, but you have to spend at least 75% of the total amount on payroll during an 8-week period. So the way the amount of the loan is calculated is they will look at your average payroll in 2019, your average monthly payroll. That amount multiplied by 2.5 is the total maximum amount of the loan. Let's see, what else can I share on this? I'm going to go back to the who can apply for this loan. You have to have been affected by COVID. So you have to show that there's been a loss of revenue in the last 4 weeks, basically, in comparison to prior to COVID. Corporations can apply, again, sole proprietors, self-employed, independent contractors, all can apply for the PPP. Just earlier this week or late last week, we got confirmation from the USDA that ag operations farmers of less than 500 employees are eligible for PPP. You will need, so what are the documents that you need to prepare for this loan? You need proof of payroll. You need to be able to showcase how much you're paying your employees on average in 2019. And then you'll have to keep track of that during the loan period to then obtain loan forgiveness. So what qualifies as proof of payroll? You can use your records from your payroll processing agency, Forms 1099, payroll tax filings, bank records. If you're a self-employed, sole proprietor type business owner, you can use your Schedule C from a tax return. So those are the type of documents you need to have ready. So prepare your documentation. The next portion is actually a summary of the amount of loans that have been made. But as you know, and as I mentioned up front, these loans, the whole $349 billion has been expended at this time. California with Texas were the #2 states to receive the most amount of funding through PPP. It was approximately $21 billion for California. On average, what can you expect? The loans that were approved, so 725,000 loans were approved, 70% of the loans that were approved were $150,000 or less. So a very large number of loans were made for small businesses, even though that only accounts for about 15% of the total $300 billion. At least a very large number of those businesses did qualify and did obtain those loans. So that's it on the EIDL and the PPP program. Again, those two programs are on pause right now. We are waiting for Congress to take action to provide more funding. And as soon as we have any information whatsoever on that, we will share immediately with our client base as well as we can. If you want to contact us and sign up with us to get some guidance and advice, please email us at slosbdc@gmail.com, slosbdc@gmail.com. And then the other program I wanted to share that is also new and that will be launching on April 28th. So this is a different slideshow, which I'm going to pull up right now. Here it is. Am I still screen sharing, Liz? Can you see my screen? Oh.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great. So the new program is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, and this is for sole proprietors, self-employed, independent contractors who typically would not qualify for unemployment insurance for the regular UI with the EDD. Historically, unemployment is only for employees who have been terminated, laid off, but this new program was created to support, again, sole proprietors, independent contractors. It will become available April 28th. So if you have not obtained your EIDL or PPP loan, if we're still in the pause period, what we are recommending is this is another resource, another opportunity for self-employed, sole proprietor type business owners to access some kind of support resource, financial support. Here's the list of all who qualify, as mentioned: sole proprietors, self-employed, independent contractors, anyone who, also individuals who would have qualified for UI, but maybe have collected all the benefits for which they could qualify for under UI, this is then a phase 2 for them as well. There are 12 different criteria under which you could qualify. Basically, we can share these slides to all of the attendees. I'm going to go over it very, very briefly. But if you've been diagnosed with COVID, have become a care provider for someone else who's been affected, providing care, or your children are home because the schools are closed and you need to care for your young children, there's no child care, all sorts of situations, as long as they're COVID related, there's 12 different types of situations that would apply. Then you will qualify for these benefits. So I think it's capped at 60% of your what your your income would normally have been, plus $600 per week. It lasts for a 39-week period in California. This is going to launch again on April 28th. And that's it on the pandemic unemployment assistance. There are 2 websites you can share on chat. One's a direct link to the EDD, edd.ca.gov, and there's more info on Investopedia too. But there is all the detailed information is available on edd.ca.gov.
So, Judy, thank you so much for that information. I apologize. I had my phone on mute when you were asking about whether we could see your screen. But we do have some questions that I'd like to go ahead and work with you on before we switch over to our next guest, who will be Lorna. There was a question that came up about the portals being closed, and should I go ahead and apply now so that I can be in the queue? Do you have any advice in regard to that?
I don't think you can apply because the portals are closed. Anyone who was in the queue, what we're recommending is don't worry about reapplying. Even though the program's been paused, you're still in line, you're still in the queue, if you will. So no need to reapply. But I need to triple check, but my understanding is that you cannot apply at this time until they reopen the portals.
Okay, so a couple of questions around if I've already applied and I haven't heard a response, what do I do? Do I just hang tight?
Yeah, you do hang tight. There is a hotline for the EIDL loan, so I can share the phone number for that. It's 1-800-659-2955. 1-800-659-2955. So that's the hotline for EIDL. You do get the opportunity to talk to a live person. If you have your SBA application number, when you submitted your EIDL loan on the portal, once you completed the application, there's an SBA loan number that popped up. That's the number you need handy when you call the hotline.
Great. And what about this?
If you want to follow up on PPP, that's something you need to do with your banker, because PPP, you can only submit through the bank. So when you fill out the form for PPP, you're submitting it to your lender, who in turn will submit it to the SBA. So PPP is actually the only funnel to access a loan through that program is through your bank.
Great. What is the start date for the eight-week period that PPP funds must be used on payroll?
Date of funding. So once you get funding, the 8-week period starts. It does end by, you have until June 30th, from the time you obtain the loan, you have until June 30th to rehire your head count. So you do have to get back to the head count and the payroll level that you were at pre-COVID. Okay.
So on that note, if 75% of the loan is used for payroll, the total loan amount is forgiven. Would that be right?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And let's see, we have another one. That's unemployment. Here's one more. Is there any way to check the status? I applied on April 3rd and have had no contact.
So for IDLE, again, it's that hotline number. It's 1-800-659-2955.
Okay. Let's see if we have anything else. If I'm oh no, this is an unemployment, and that would be Miss Lorna. So is there anything else you'd like to add or share before we head off to our next presenter? And that includes all of you, Norma, Chuck, Lorna, anything else you want to share related to what Judy has offered to us this morning?
Norma Dunn, I just want to commend Judy for that, because I think the key thing, as she mentioned, is being prepared now for when they open it up again. That is so key. So your profit and loss, so everything that they need, get it ready now so that when they do open it up, you're ready to go and hit the ground running.
Okay, here's a couple more things that have just come in, so just bear with me again. I'm just trying to get through all of this as quickly as I can. We're a nonprofit. We submitted the PP loan application. The bank did not receive approval and did not submit our loan package until a week later. Will we miss out on the original opportunity?
What's the exact, I'm not sure about the exact timeline. So it was submitted prior to...
On April 23rd. April 23rd. So they submitted their PPP application on April 23rd to the bank. The bank did not receive approval to fund until that weekend and did not submit our loan package until a week later. Will we miss out?
So they must mean March 23rd, not April?
Yeah, they must mean March because what they typed in is April.
Yeah, so it must be March 23rd. I don't think PPP became available until April, the Friday after. So it's completely normal that it was not submitted until a week later because it wasn't available yet. So they should be in the queue. We've seen some PPP loans come through this week. They just started coming through this week. Check with your banker. But it sounds like we're pretty early in line, and that sounds like it should. You know, as long as they qualify, as long as they meet all the requirements, that sounds pretty good.
And do you need to roll the EIDL into the PPP at all?
So on the borrower form for PPP, they are asking for the EIDL loan amount to be included in there in your total loan amount. Most people who submitted for PPP did not have the results from EIDL yet, so we the only option they could put in there was 0 because they hadn't received their EIDL loan, so there was no amount that was determined. You know, why did they ask? I think the intention is to roll one into the other, but I'm not sure. We don't have a specific answer to that yet.
Is it required that 2019 returns be filed for PPP?
Nope, nope.
And what about partnerships? How do partnerships apply for PPP?
So partnerships, if it's a general partnership, then that's a multi-person sole proprietor, basically. You're not a legal entity per se. It's the same borrower form for whatever status you are as a business owner. If you look on the top left-hand corner, you have to check the right box that describes the type of format that you're operating in as a business. So are you operating as a corporate entity or as a sole proprietor or as a partnership? There should be a box there for you to tick on the left-hand corner. It's the exact same form for anyone who applies.
Okay, one more question and then we'll flip over here. I'm a sole proprietor. I'm interested in EIDL and PUA to help with some anticipated loss of income. However, I'm refinancing my home to get some cash and worried about credit pulls and any other reporting that the underwriters could use against qualifying for this loan. Should I hold off on pursuit of EIDL or PUA?
I don't know. I
think that's a good question for your bank. The banking if you have a banking relationship, that's a good question to be asking them.
Yeah, I think as long as you communicate with your banker on the refi, and let them know, like, I was in the middle of this refi, I still want to apply for these resources. It can only help me through this time. You know, I don't know if the SBA is going to do some credit checks, and will it affect your credit score? I don't know. Communicate with your banker for sure.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. Well, thank you again, Judy, for all the wonderful information. And again, I encourage our audience, as you think through and process all of this good stuff, you know, certainly type your questions in the chat box, and provided we have time, we'll get right back to Miss Judy. Let's go ahead and switch gears and hear from Lorna now. So Lorna, you want to share with us a little bit about you and what you're going to share with us today?
Sure. So I'm Lorna Whiteaker. I'm the owner of Business Beyond the Shoebox. I'm a small business growth expert. I specialize in financial skills, financial analysis, that sort of thing, revenue strategies for business owners. I'm here today as a member of SCORE. I've been participating with SCORE for 10 years. I'm a member of the executive board. I'm currently director of workshops. So that's my background and what I'm doing. I'm going to be talking today about the unemployment opportunities that are available for small business owners specifically. And so I think that the way this is going is that we just launch into my presentation right now. I don't have any slides for you. The first thing that I want folks to understand is that there's terminology out there that people are getting really confused by.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's get clear about what we're actually talking about. You have employees. An employee is someone who receives a paycheck, and they can work for a sole proprietor, or they can work for a partnership, or they can work for an LLC or corporation, that sort of thing. They're employees. You report them to the, you know, for Social Security and Medicare and all those things. That's an employee. Okay. Clear on that. I think people understand that. If you're a corporation, you can be an employee of your corporation. So you, as an individual, can be an employee also of your corporation. Here's where the challenging part is that they've got three different terminologies. They have sole proprietor, self-employed, independent contractor. This is really creating some confusion for people. If you do not receive a paycheck from which withholdings are being taken, you are not an employee. If you have your own business and you have a fictitious business name, now you're a sole proprietor. But an independent contractor and a self-employed individual can also be considered to be self-employed. In fact, sole proprietors, people who own their corporations, own their partnerships, they're all self-employed. But by the terminology that's being used, what are the distinctions? And the distinction is, as a sole proprietor is someone who's going to have a fictitious business name. An independent contractor, they're kind of saying that these are the people that work for Lyft and Uber and some of these other services. They don't have a separate business entity that they have created, but they do report earnings from these side gigs. The self-employed is that same individual. Maybe they're doing business under their own name. They don't have a sole proprietorship, but they have a separate business banking account, and they report their earnings on their tax return under a Schedule C because they are managing a business, but they're doing business under their own name. So whether you're a self-employed by that definition, an independent contractor by that definition, or a sole proprietor, you still qualify for these unemployment benefits that are being made available as a result of the disaster being declared at a national and a state level. Okay, so I think that's one of the first things that I wanted to make sure that people understood where they fit into the question. So one of the things that's available through the state is DUA. This is the disaster unemployment assistance. And a lot of people applied for it because it was technically available immediately because the state of California had declared a disaster. So people were applying for it. They were struggling with the questions because the questions were all geared towards the employee who receives a paycheck. And so they didn't hit that place until towards the end of the application. Now a lot of people are getting denial letters. They're getting letters that don't seem to make any sense, saying that they have no benefits available. So a lot of questions regarding that. And now the state is saying, you know what, we're going to open up a brand new portal for you guys. It's going to be made available on April 28th, and you can now apply for DUA and the PUA. The PUA is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance that Judy was talking about. And that's going to be made available. That's that $600 that's going to apply when you apply for your disaster unemployment assistance, which is the DUA. I think for a lot of people, we have a lot of acronyms being thrown around, and people get really confused. First of all, am I talking to the EDD, Employment Development Department, which is for the state, EDD? Okay, what am I filing for? Am I filing for a DUA, a PUA, an EIDL, a PPP? Pretty soon people are just really confused. So I want you to focus on which one you're actually talking about and who you should be talking to about it.
Mhm.
So that's going to help a lot in processing this. So I wanted to look at a couple, Chuck Jaley over at Mission Community sent me a great email from the EDD giving some additional supporting information that, questions that people were asking. So again, if you have already applied for unemployment benefits through the DUA program with the state, the real chance is you are going to need to refile on April 28th. Now, we don't have specific answer to that question, but I believe that this is what's going to happen because you've been getting letters that said, well, you don't qualify as an employee. Right, I didn't qualify as an employee. Did I qualify for being a self-employed individual, whether sole proprietor or otherwise? And you have to read your letter. You have to read the letter that you get so that you know what the answer to that was. If you need to file an appeal, you may need to file an appeal, but I suspect you will need to just refile on April 28th. But read the letter. So they're saying now that the self-employed, independent contractors, sole proprietors are not going to be allowed to file for the PUA, that's the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, until April 28th. But many have already filed. You can do it by phone, fax, mail, or online. I recommend that you do it online when the portal opens. I believe that, I'm just going to copy this and I'll drop that into the notes. So it's this, so I'm going into the chat box.
And whenever you're ready, Lorna, we do have some questions.
Okay, so let me go back to, so let me look at here. So sometimes because the portals are set up generally for employees, sometimes we don't know how to select our industry. So select the one that closely fits yours and what you're doing. Okay, that's one of the things. There's no list of categories. You just have to find the work that you do as best you can with the categories available. It also said, do I have to sign up for Cal Jobs? Only if you receive a notification that says you need to sign up. Okay, so read the paperwork that you receive, folks. I cannot stress enough, when you get something in the mail, look to see who it's from, read what it says, follow the instructions.
Okay, so let me just give you some of these questions if you're ready for that. Okay, so first of all, are S Corp owners eligible to apply for unemployment?
If the S Corp owner was receiving a paycheck through their corporation. They are technically an employee. And then, yes, they would file for regular unemployment. They would not file for disaster unemployment, but they could file for PUA if they have exhausted other unemployment benefits. So yes, but they have to apply as a S Corp. They are supposed to apply. They should have been paying themselves through the payroll feature of being an S Corp and therefore made themselves eligible as an employee.
Okay, on EDD, do you know if you applied as a small business owner, independent contractor, do you need to reapply? I applied, have a number and even a dollar amount, but have not received any finances yet.
So if you received a number, so everyone has unique situations for themselves. So if you were, so let's say you were an employee at the first part of the year of 2019, you might have qualified for regular unemployment benefits because you were in a window of time where you were still being counted as an employee. If you've been a sole proprietor and never been an employee for any part of the, let's say the end of 2018 through 2019, then you probably would have gotten a zero benefits letter. So you have to read the letter that you got and see what it says, because you have to find out what your exact situation is. And then I believe, and Norma may be able to answer that, I believe that you may even have a contact resource through the letter that you got. So I would look at your letter. So sorry, I can't give you a more straight answer. It's really very specific to your current circumstances.
And just to tap on that, Lorna, because a lot of initially when this all first came out, they first told people you had to go through that unemployment first. And then if you were denied and you got the letter saying that you were denied and so forth, then you would then go into the PUA. So there, again, you have to read what they're sending you if you don't qualify, or what your qualifications are.
Right. So if you agree with the way they have termed you, then you would go ahead and follow the directions and you would go and file on April 28th. If you don't agree with that, then you have to respond to the letter and clarify why you believe that you fit in a different way. So read your letters, okay, because they all seem to be different.
If sole proprietors have applied for the DUI, do we need to reply again on April 28th? A sole proprietor applying for DUI.
Yeah, that's my understanding that that's what's going to happen. You need to reapply on April 28th.
Okay, if I'm self-employed and my revenue is way down due to COVID-19, but I'm still making more than the max UI benefit of $450 and therefore not eligible, can I still get PUA?
I don't actually know
revenue
the answer
is
to that.
down.
I would say
Okay.
reapply and see if you can work through the process. I don't back away from asking for the resources. I just look to see whether I can qualify or not. So I would have them apply again on April 28th.
And what about any leniency in regard to bankruptcy?
That's a very specific case, and I don't know what the legal entity status is and what they're really asking. So you would have to, you would apply and then work with them to see whether you could be eligible.
Okay, I'm a real estate broker. Somebody has their speaker on. Let me just check something really quickly. Again, I apologize, folks. I just need to make sure that we're all good. Okay. Okay, Lorna, I'm a real estate broker, and most of my income is from managing my Airbnb rentals that I report on Schedule E. Can I get any government assistance based on Schedule E income? And then it says on my Schedule C, my profit is very low, but my commissions are higher. Can I submit my commissions as income, or does it have to be my bottom line on Schedule C?
You know what, I'm not a licensed tax professional. I couldn't even begin to sort that out. What I would say is that you want to look at your tax returns and see how that income is categorized as if it's total income. Because if it's all coming through self-employment type activities, then you would qualify. But I suspect that earnings from rental properties may not qualify. And I don't know. That's going to take a little bit of extra research. So I don't know the answer to that. That's a very specific question, and perhaps your tax professional could help you identify that, how that is treated at the tax level.
Okay, and if I'm self-employed and my spouse is my employee, if I lay that spouse off, are they eligible for unemployment insurance?
If you've been paying them as an employee with a regular paycheck and withholding revenue, taxes and such, and paying taxes on them, then yes, they can qualify for unemployment benefits, but they wouldn't apply for the DUA. They would apply for regular unemployments. You would basically lay them off. Yes.
Okay, so 2 more questions, and then we're going to flip over to hear from Miss Norma and see what other questions we have for the group. I applied for DUA and was accepted. On the question, am I able to work? I don't know how to answer because I have asthma and am one of the categories of compromised individuals. How should I answer?
Oh, that's a really specific question. Norma, maybe can you answer that one? I can't hear Norma. I still can't hear Norma.
Norma, you need to unmute yourself. Norma, try it again. Norma, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you
Okay.
go. Now we can hear you.
Organizer in me, so I'm like, ah. Okay. So, you know, what happens with that is, again, with the health costs and the health issue, yeah, high risk individuals, that was something that brought up with individuals. I think that you need to read the verbiage, and it's, you know, is it will or may, or, you know, if you're looking for work and that type of thing. So you might be specifically looking at maybe a position that maybe isn't in a high risk area, but it's still you're eligible to work maybe from home. So, you know, you might be able to look at that. So maybe you're not at a grocery store, but you're able to be at a call center and working from home and answering phone calls. So you need to really look at that and say, well, I can't do this, but I can do you know, this, and really kind of tell them about that and be upfront with them. I mean, that would be my suggestion.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of opportunities for people to work from home right now.
And that is one of the questions that's come up over and over for people. Well, I have my own business. I'm a, you know, I own my own salon and I cut hair, but I can't work right now. And they ask the question, would you be willing to accept work? And the answer to that is, of course you would. You would be willing to accept work right now because you're looking for any opportunity to actually bring in those resources. So the answer to that question is sure. Do I want to go back to my business again? Of course I do, but am I willing to look for work right now? So yes. Right. Okay.
And the key word is willing. You're willing to do that.
I am willing. I am willing to do that.
Willing to do that, yes. And that's a key word, is willing.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So one more question, and then we'll switch to Norma. I'm a child care provider and am down children. Can I apply for PUA even though I have no payroll system?
Well, yes. If as I understand the question, if you are self-employed providing child care and you receive your money as a self-employed individual, whether you're a sole proprietor with a fictitious business name or just self-employed doing it under your own name, if you're reporting it as income on a Schedule C, okay, then you qualify to receive disaster unemployment assistance and a pandemic, which is the DUA and the PUA. So yes, apply for it. Okay, and then again, do that on April 28th. So yes, if you the key is really, folks, is that you've been reporting your revenues on your tax return. And one of the things that Judy said is that you need to be ready to show all agencies that you have income. So you're going to be asked to produce a profit and loss statement for 2019. If you have not filed your income taxes for 2019, they're fine with that, but you'd better be able to produce a profit and loss statement.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, great. Let's switch gears to Norma.
So, hi, my name is Norma Dunn. I'm the Deputy Director for Mission Community Services Corporation, the Women's Business Center, and I operate and manage the Bakersfield Center, which is here in Kern County. And again, as being a resource for our clients, again, we focus on women, minority, low income, and veterans to help them with technical assistance training for their small businesses. This is something that's really the calls that we're getting in, again, are in regard to EIDL and PPP. And I can't stress enough what Lorna and what Judy said earlier about being prepared. And I'll state this again. If you don't know that you qualify, apply anyway, because let them tell you that you don't qualify because they're changing these things as this started in the last 3 weeks. Lorna, how many times has it changed?
I don't know, every other day.
They change it. So people who didn't qualify before qualified a day later, who didn't qualify that day now qualify now. So apply anyway, let them tell you that you don't qualify, and then you take the next step once you get that letter and it tells you, you know, what happens. And that's what we're telling our clients is, again, and also the profit and loss, making sure, for example, that one individual who's a child care provider, if you don't have some sort of tracking for your income, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or QuickBooks or something, I think this is really bringing people who are self-employed or sole proprietors, the reality check is that's what's needed to really kind of not only for on a professional level, but when these things happen, you need to have that documentation. Because it's not going to be your word. So again, prepare that information, have it ready to go for the last 12 months. What was the child care income that you had coming in? What other sources of income? Again, your 2018 tax return. If you don't have your 2019, get the 2018. So you have some numbers to work with. And that's what we're telling our clients, as again, referring them to our consultants. And the PPP, again, is, we know that, again, that right now both of them are on pause, but be ready, because when this opens, it's not going to say, you know, I would say let's get procrastination off the table right now and get ready to hit the ground running, because when this comes in, it's, as they say, it's first come, first serve. And if you're not in line, you're not going to get anything. So again, we're at the Women's Business Center, we're really focusing being proactive than reactive, and we want to see people take part in this and actually, you know, get those benefits, because you know, they are entitled to that based on their small businesses. The other thing you mentioned, Lorna, about employee versus independent contractor, I was on a webinar with a friend of mine who does QuickBooks training, and that the number one question where people were in business, but they didn't know if they were an independent contractor or an employee. So that, again, that's what we really need to train, and that's what we're focusing on, is getting people to understand what is a sole proprietor, what is an LLC, what is a corporation, what is an S corporation, what is a partnership. And at the Women's Business Center, we, again, have trainings on that, which, again, SCORE and SBDC do also. But what we want to do is really kind of get to the nuts and bolts of what that means. You know, I'm an LLC. Okay, well, what does that mean? Okay, what does that mean to me? What does that mean to me on paper with the federal government, right? What does that mean? So we want to really get to that and share that information with our clients and talk them through that process. When it comes to finances, again, what we see at the Women's Business Center is a lot of our small businesses are into the day-to-day operations of the business, right? They're into the day-to-day operations. Finance, oh, that's my bookkeeper, or I don't do that. Well, you're going to need to learn to do that. that, okay, to have some sort of idea. And that's what we teach, again, our clients as well, is you don't have to know it verbatim or how exactly everything works, but you need to know what the bottom line is, what is going on in your business. So when times like this, and this isn't going to be the first time this is going to come around, you know, with this emergency preparedness, right? The Kern Women's Business Center, we did an emergency preparedness and recovery workshop in Ridgecrest because of the earthquake we had last year on July 4th. Okay, it's going to be an earthquake, it's going to be a tornado, it's going to be the pandemic, it's going to be something. Okay, so why not prepare now and get that structure into your businesses so that when that does happen, you're not scrambling, you're ready to go. You have documents saved on a hard drive, you have your information saved somewhere where you can find it and easily upload very quickly. That's what we're training our clients to do, and to be really hands-on with their businesses and to understand this, because again, we know that this isn't going to be the last disaster that we're in. Again, this is one that we're in nationally or internationally, I mean global, but again, we all know that we live in different parts of the country which do have other disasters. Here in California, we had the fires, you know, and now the earthquake, and now this pandemic. So it seems like every year there is something going on. So we want to make sure that we help our clients and help them to be prepared ahead of time. The one thing that we have noticed, Liz, here and Lorna, in Kern County, is that with this pandemic, small businesses are now recognizing the fact that they need to be certified to do government contracting. Pandemic, emergency, right? So right now is the time, you're just sitting and idle and you're at home, get your certifications, get your EDWSB, get your WSB, get your DBE. And what that means, let me give you acronyms. I go into my acronyms, but DBE is your disadvantaged business enterprise, your state minority business enterprise, your women-owned small business, your economically disadvantaged women-owned small business. Work on those, get those right now and work on that paperwork, because you know what, some of the paperwork that you need for that is what the federal government's asking you for anyway and what the banks are asking you for. So why not get it ready now and apply for your certifications, right? Makes sense. 2-3 months down the road, everything opens up, you're ready to rock and roll with contracts, right? And the reason I say that is because here in Kern County in Bakersfield, we work with Edwards Air Force Base. We are working with China Lake. China Lake had $5.2 billion worth of damage in the earthquake last year. They're rebuilding this year, okay? Even the pandemic, whatever's going on with this is happening. So we've been focusing since last year as a Kern Women's Business Center to get our small business owners certified, get them in there, because they may not be a prime contractor, but they can be a subcontractor. And why not have a local business do that instead of somebody coming in from outside of Kern County? So that's what we were working on. And so we built those relationships with these organizations and the military. And we work with workshops. How do I get in? What is the procurement process? Step by step on how to get a contract. Okay, how easy is that? That's what we want, right? That's what we want to do. So again, my thing right now, yes, this is going on. It's difficult. It's stressful. It's highly, what word do I want to use? It's just kind of the intensity of what's going on, but being the optimistic person that I am, and those of you who know me know that that's me, I'm just the optimist. Use that time to really prepare yourself for that next level of your business. You know, what are you going to do? You know, think about it right now. What do you want to do right now that you can, you know, scale up? Or maybe you pivoted and now you're going to be doing something different. So again, I have a friend who does training and development. I told her, get your certifications. Edwards Air Force Base needs professional development, learning, you know, training and development. So does China Lake. So do federal, local, state, county governments can all do that. And what do they look for? They look for the certifications. And those people that have their certifications are at the top of their list and they go down. So again, so this could be a really stressful, but also an opportunity. And that's what we tell our clients. You know, I don't know, I'm the silver lining person. get that done. You're going to be looking for paperwork anyway. Might as well get it done, get it all organized into your system, and apply for those certifications.
So Norma, thank you so much. You've given us a lot of really good feedback, you and Lorna and Judy and Chuck as well. Lots of good stuff. I do want to just switch gears a little bit because we are right on the hour, and I want to respect that some people need to head off to other things. But before we go, we do have some questions, and I want to make sure everybody can see the contact information screen. So we have SCORE on the left-hand side. There is an 805 phone number there, 805-547-0779, and their website, sanluisobispo.score.org. The Cal Poly Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and the SBDC. Judy actually gave us a different email than the one I have. It's slowsbdc@gmail.com. And then for the Women's Business Centers, the one here locally, we have 805-595-1357. And the email address is info@mcscorp.org. Or for the Kern office, which Norma is part of, that number is 661-567-0410. And their email address is kwbcinfo@mcscorp.org. So before we go, I'd like to just throw out a few more questions for our panelists. Oh, I just made a mistake there. So let's see. We'll bring them back. Sorry about that, guys. Trying to do too many things at once. That happens, right? So let's see what we have here. So here's some questions related to, if you have a partnership, do you add the amount that you make to your employee loan amount, or do you do a new loan? So who would like to answer that question? Lorna or Judy?
Yeah, so can you repeat the question, Liz, please?
Yeah, so for a partnership, do you add the amount that you make to your employee loan amount or do a new loan?
I'm not sure I understand the
I
question.
don't understand the question.
Yeah, what we don't have is we don't know which loan they're talking about.
Or PPP.
It sounds like
And
It doesn't say, so let me just see. Okay, so here's another one. It says, for PPP, we plan and staff events, and many events have been canceled, so the staff would have received pay, but are not now. Will the PPP loan allow me to pay them what they would have received?
So as long as they're still employees, you should be using the PPP to pay them as employees. If they've been laid off or terminated, no. I mean, you can't just hand out money. It has to be used for payroll purposes. Otherwise, I mean, actually, you know,
But they can hire them
It's
back.
payroll with existing employees, is that right? Or to rehire somebody, like to
Rehire.
bring them back?
rehire.
Yeah,
They can rehire.
if you use the loan monies for other expenses, you can do that. It's just that that amount of the loan, that it won't be forgiven. So if you're seeking to ensure forgiveness of the loan, you must use at least 75% of the total amount for payroll.
Mhm.
Okay,
That's
good.
what's
Are the
really-
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, that's what's really key, is, as Judy mentioned, because they want you to keep the employees on payroll, and that's the purpose of the PPP. And so that's, and they want you to use it within that certain, that time range at 8 weeks, because, you know, making sure that they are, you know, getting paid.
Okay, great. So another question was whether or not the DUA and, hold on, are the DUA and PUA separate applications, or are they one and the same?
It's my understanding they're one and the same, but now they're using the new portal, the April 28th portal, to make sure that you're combined on that. So yeah, there's no separate application for PUA specifically, let's say, to the federal government. You're going to do everything through the EDD.
Okay, great. We're having trouble finding a bank to apply for the PPP. Any suggestions on where to go?
The
Yeah, so,
SBA website. Sorry.
sorry, Norma.
Say that again.
SBA's website for your local lenders or local providers. If you go to sba.gov and you put in your zip code or your city, it will tell you. And they've added so much more.
And just to help with that, the problem that we are seeing is that most banks are only processing PPPs for their own clients. They're prioritizing their own clients. So we have had issues where we have a business owner who is banking with a bank who is not an SBA approved lender, and they can't find another bank to help them process their PPP. So what we just found out this late last week, early this week, CESLOC, our local credit union, just got qualified as an SBA lender and will be processing PPPs as soon as the portal's back up. So CESLOC is a good opportunity here locally. And online, we've seen some fintech companies step up. You can try cabbage.com, although they might, I'm not sure if they're still accepting new clients. Lendio.com, QuickBooks, Intuit QuickBooks is processing PPPs, and so is PayPal. So if you have an account with PayPal or an account with QuickBooks, you can process through them as well.
Now, Judy, are you working with your local CDFIs over there also for processing?
That's a good question.
We had some here. We had two that actually are helping with that. Access Plus Capital and Opportunity Fund.
Awesome.
Great. And that was Norma in Kern and Judy. So how do you apply for those certifications? So Norma, you mentioned a bunch of different certifications. How would people learn about applying there? Where would they go?
Well, like I said, they can call the Women's Business Center. We can help them with that and direct them with that. Again, you can also go online. You can just type in Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, do a Google search. It'll take you to the California Sacramento site, which they will do it there. And it's free of charge. By all means, those people who are on here, there's people that will charge you to do this. But if you go through, again, I'm sure with SCORE, the SBDC, or the Women's Business Center, there is no charge to help you get that paperwork in. And the SBA website, and the reason it's important to do that right now is because the self-certification is going to be going away. They're transitioning out of that. So right now you're going to be able to upload into the SBA website, which then in June, that's what's going to happen, along with the other 4 that are third-party certifiers. So again, contact your local Women's Business Center, SBDC or SCORE, and they can direct you with that. Ladies?
Okay, and yes, go ahead.
No, SCORE can help you. You go to sba.gov, you go to the California sites, you're looking for that .gov extension, and just type in those questions, but SCORE can direct you, Mission Community can direct you in how to start those applications. They're pretty easy to do.
They are, and the one thing I just want to mention, the more thorough you are and organized you are with your application, I know that in our experience, this for a disadvantaged business enterprise application, I submitted one and it got approved in 35 days. They got their site visit and everything, got their certification, and then the longest was 51 days. So again, it depends on your paperwork and how organized you have it and everything that you have in place.
Lots of really good information, everyone. Thank you again so much. On behalf of Mission Community Services, again, the information for SCORE, SBDC, and the Women's Business Center, both here in San Luis and in Kern, is on your screen. I encourage those of you that are on the session with us now or listening to this recording later to reach out to them to get questions that you want to ask answered, or to get directed to the right resources in our local community that can help you get back on track to the recovery and the reopening of business. So Norma, thank you for joining us from Kern. Lorna, thank you for joining us and all your brilliance about the unemployment side of things. And Judy, thank you very much for the EIDL and the PPP. And Chuck, thank you for bringing this group together and continuing to help us get valuable information out to the small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs in our community. I do want to close this session with a little bit of celebration. So I mentioned at the beginning that I teach the Explore Design Launch course for Mission Community Services, and we started a class about 3 weeks before this whole shelter-in-home place took effect. And I'm really excited to share with you that in about 2 weeks, we have about 15 new entrepreneurs who are graduating from the class, who are in various stages of operating their business, and some with business plans completed, already got customers, some who are still working on their business plans, and some who are saying, well, given what's going on, I'm going to have to wait a little bit more. But they are to be commended, and the team at Mission Community Services is also to be commended for figuring out how to jump through the hoops and bring this group together and to continue to support them throughout this entire process that we've just gone through. So I'm looking forward to more full classes and more entrepreneurs going out and doing great things, because small business really is the heartbeat of the economy in our country. Go out and make it a great day, and we'll see you next week. Next week we'll be covering resilience. And the week following, on May 1st, we'll do another CARES Act Roundtable update. All right, everyone, go have a great weekend. Take care.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.